OTEX East Africa, your #1 private stock exchange. You can buy treasury bonds in East Africa at a very low cost, and a very great return as well comes with that investment you're going to make, with as little as 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Now, with dialing *292# and following the prompts, you can be able to register using your national identification number, but also you can use, of course, that code to buy or sell. So all you need is some money on your mobile money wallet, either MTN or Airtel. And when you have that money, you can easily move it to the OTEX platform by simply dialing *292#. Remember, OTEX East Africa is regulated by the Capital Markets Authority of Uganda, and they are licensed by the same. So your money is safe when you invest with OTEX East Africa. OTEX, do something new. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to roll the dice and, of course, get into the trading here for the Wednesday. And this was, of course, being the 3rd day of trading. Now, generally speaking, across the globe, the US market stumbled a little bit, as we shall see later on the show. But on the African continent, things seem to be a little bit better elsewhere in Africa, except, of course, in the East African region, particularly speaking about Uganda'S case. Now, if you were, of course, very keen on the market yesterday, but on Tuesday, that was one of the best days of trading of the year 2023. Looking at volumes of Stanbic Bank shoot with currently about on Tuesday rather, about close to 200 million that was transacted on the Stanbic counter on the Uganda Securities Exchange. However, looking at Wednesday, things were not as really good as we would expect after the big trading day on Tuesday. And we are, of course, getting to dive into what that performance was. Now, on aggregate, we had just about 4 equities that are listed on the exchange trade on the Uganda Securities Exchange. The day ended with 4 gainers and 4 losers. Well balanced. 4 gainers, 4 losers, and 4 participants in the markets. Now, on the losers list, we had Stanbic Bank Uganda, unfortunately, lose the biggest value on the market on the Wednesday tradings, with a total of close to 8.70% that was shed off from the market price of Stanbic Bank Uganda. Now, this puts the company's stock price at 21 shillings. The company, remember, yesterday had appreciated to 23 Ugandan shillings, rather yesterday but one. And when you look at Equity Bank Limited, they also lost close to 0.82%, down to 1,332.32 Ugandan shillings. And KCB Group lost 0.35%, down to a price of 1,135.21 Ugandan shillings. Now, Nation Media Group lost 0.16%, down to 446.08 Ugandan shillings. Now, amongst the top gainers, we did not have a domestically listed equity. All of these 4 that gained on the market were mainly cross listings from Kenya, and this included East African Breweries Limited, who came out on top of the table at a 1.62% gain to 5,172.18 Ugandan shillings. And Centum Investments as well appreciated close to 1.32%, up to 260.83 Ugandan shillings per share as well. Kenya Airways added close to 0.17% of their value, up to 113.52 Ugandan shillings per share as well. Jubilee Holdings Limited appreciated 0.04%, up to 5,750.16 Ugandan shillings as well on the Uganda Securities Exchange. And that generally, of course, gives us a picture of some of the gainers and biggest losers on the market. However, in terms of trading, Wumeme came back with the biggest record volume for the day at exactly about 58,900 shares that were transacted on the counter, currently this being one of the most traded on stocks at the Uganda Securities Exchange. Now, Stanbic Bank, Wumeme Limited maintained their price at 300 shillings. Seems it's going to be that way for a little while. Investors seem to be comfortable with this particular price. But remember, there has been intensified activity on the Wumeme stock since last year, around the month of December, when Wumeme announced to the public that it will not be renewing their concession with government that will be expiring in 2025. Now, Wumeme came into Uganda in 2005, to be specific, on the 30th of March, and this company was given the mandate to distribute and supply electricity in Uganda for the next 20 years. That was the concession. Now, government seems not to be buying into getting to renew that concession, meaning the company will be actually winding up business here in 2025. Now, to the surprise of many, that would have, of course, triggered probably slowed activity or a loss in the value of the stocks at the company. Well, the total opposite happened. Immediately this was done at the beginning of the month of December. Wumeme stocks have been rising, and the skyrocketing prices can be attributed, of course, to the high demand on the Wumeme stock currently and the limited supply as well of this particular stock on the Uganda Securities Exchange. The stock we are talking about had the biggest volume yesterday, and when you look at current figures here on the Uganda Securities Exchange, the company's market capitalization currently is at 487 billion Ugandan shillings, which represents close to 2.34% of the entire Uganda Securities Exchange equity market. Now, when you look at their share price at 300 shillings, coming to, of course, yesterday's volume of 58,900, they had a total turnover of close to 17.7 million Ugandan shillings on the market. In the last 3 months, Wumeme maintains the second position in terms of trading the biggest volumes on the Uganda Securities Exchange, coming behind Stanbic Bank Uganda, a very close competitor there. But of course, due to their big share price, they enjoyed the biggest turnover as well in the last 3 months. We are talking about a total of about 24.4 million shares valued at 6.05 billion. Now that means a lot for big investors, and if you are someone interested in big volumes, interested in, of course, big investments in the stock market, definitely Wumeme would be one stock you would never miss out on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me also to cross over to MTN Uganda. They did have the second biggest volume on the market, traded at the third day of trading rather. This was a 45,800 shares volume that was traded with the company that now enjoys currently the second most valuable stock on the Uganda Securities Exchange at a total of 4.03 trillion Ugandan shillings. Now, this company represents close to 19.3% of the entire Uganda Securities Exchange equity market. And when you look at the current figures here, it currently has about 180.0 Ugandan shillings that was recorded on the company's price. When you look at the graph here, MTN Uganda has maintained 180 Ugandan shillings for quite some time, dating way back in November 2022, when the company's stock actually fell from between about 175 and 150 averages to down to 180 Ugandan shillings. The stock price has been stuck there since then. So back in November, that's when we had MTN trade at 180, and that has been their price all the way into the year 2023 here on the market. Now, currently, MTN Uganda is the third most traded on stock with a total of close to about 23.2 million shares in the last 3 months at exactly 4.17 Ugandan shillings in value on the Uganda Securities Exchange. MTN came as an IPO, electronic in nature, in back then in the year 2021, and so last year they made exactly 1 year on the stock exchange. The company stock came at a price of 200 shillings. That was their initial price, and then later on got to decline in price subsequent of their listing now on the main board of the Uganda Securities Exchange on the secondary market trading, and this was down to prices of about 194 at the beginning of last year. Well, subsequently, as we moved into 2022, the company stock still lingered between 160, 170, and 190 maximum Ugandan shillings per share. This year, of course, we are looking forward to a lot of. We have, of course, very high expectations, and many investors are looking forward to a great time at MTN. Remember, the company was able to also get to issue a dividend. Their first year of listing, they were able to issue a dividend of 4.7 shillings last year. So if you are still looking for good dividend policy companies, definitely MTN could be one of those stocks you're looking out for. Well, away from MTN, Stanbic Bank also put up some good fight on the Uganda Securities Exchange with close to about 6,296 shares that were recorded on the company. Now, Stanbic Bank unfortunately lost 2 shillings of their price, which they had gained actually the day before, and currently their stock is trading at 21 shillings from 23 shillings that was trading at the beginning of the day, the trading day yesterday. And of course, Stanbic Bank had the biggest turnover of all time, especially this year 2023 on Tuesday, biggest volume as well on the market since 2023 began. Well, Tuesday was a very good day, and Wednesday seemed to have really not worked up with the same pace for the company. But still, Stanbic Bank maintains the #1 position in terms of trading volumes, the biggest volumes in the last 3 months on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Well, a new entrant on the participants list is New Vision Printing and Publishing Company. The company had about close to 100 shares that were traded, maintaining their opening price of 150.0 Ugandan shillings. Now, New Vision Group is incorporated in the New Vision Printing and Publishing Company Limited, and has been in the media business since 1986. This is a multimedia publishing company engaged in the business of newspapers, magazines, internet publishing, as well as television and radio broadcasting as well here in Uganda. Now, the company was listed in 2004 on the 16th of December. New Vision in the last couple of years has accrued a total value of over 11.5 billion Ugandan shillings worth of market capitalization that is on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Currently, this makes it the 16th most valuable out of the 18 companies on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Well, their price hasn't been fluctuating since the month of May last year, May 2022. Their price of 150 shillings per share has been quite stagnant, a quite straight line looking at the graph here over the last 1 year and over the last couple of days and months. And they have been quite silent on the Uganda Securities Exchange. This 100 shares volume accrued about 15,000 Ugandan shillings for the company. However, currently New Vision has close to 76.5 million shares out there floated on the Uganda Securities Exchange, making it one of also the big boys on the listings there. In the last 3 months, they have maintained their 8th position amongst the traders on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Well, in summary, regarding the performance of the all-share index, the index shed 5.3 points, and this was down to 1,212, whereas the local company index decreased by 1.4%, and this was down to 274.09. Market capitalization at the entire Uganda Securities Exchange currently still stands at 20.9 trillion Ugandan shillings. Away from the Uganda Stock Exchange, getting to look into the Nairobi tradings here across, of course, the land, the busiest stock exchange in East Africa. Now, Nairobi Securities Exchange had a fairly not so bad day, but not so good as well. We had 46 equities participate in trading, a little decline from about 49 that participated the day before, and the day ended with 21 gainers and over close to 13 losers on the market. Stanley Fahari Income Re-IT led the gainers at a 9.27% gain, and this was up to Kenyan shillings 6.6. When you look at Nairobi Business Ventures, who has been on the losing spree a couple of days past, they also gained about 9.27%. The TPS East African Serena had about 8.33% gain as well, and Home Africa gained about 6.25% on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Now, on the losing side, we had Unga Group, who came out last, with an end of day price depreciation of 3.06% at exactly 30.05 Kenyan shillings per share, and NCBA lost close to 2.51%, and as well Scan Group at 2.36%. TransCentury lost 2.3% on the market. Now, Safaricom recorded the biggest volume at 7.3 million and continues to rally the Nairobi markets there, as well as Kenya Power and Lighting Company coming among us, the biggest movers, and Diamond Trust Bank, as well as Kenya Reinsurance Corporation. Regarding the performance of the NSE index, which is the benchmark performer there, of course, performance indicator rather, on the Nairobi market, it increased by 1.73 points up to close to 127.64 points, representing a 1-week gain currently of 0.8% and a 4-week gain of 0.55%. Now, currently, regarding, of course, the NSE 25 and the NSE 20, the NSE 20 depreciated slightly, 0.07%, and the NSE 25 appreciated, on the other hand, at 0.96%. Remember, the dream here is to have the Nairobi Securities Exchange enroll for the East African Capital Markets project, where we'll have all the other East African capital markets actually get to fuse into one, to ease trading and make it easier across the board there. Now, away from East Africa, let's get to look into the US stocks here, as of course we wind down the show. Remember, the US has the busiest week in the stock ever on this platform that we haven't seen before. Of course, the stocks here are going to be facing a very rough week, and of course it's already evident according to data here from what seems to be a very miserable day on the Wall Street. Now, the US stocks were lower on Wednesday, as of course traders were contemplating and awaited the latest monetary policy decision from the Federal Reserve later in the afternoon. Now, near the noon of Wednesday, the S&P 500 was down 0.5%, while the Dow Jones was down by 1%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq fell by 0.4%. More updates will come your way tomorrow as we wind up. Of course, I want to remind you, Altex East Africa is your #1 private stock exchange. You can dial *292# and buy bonds across East Africa. My name is Anthony. I'll catch you tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye for now.